Okay, so in 5.8 we're going to be graphing linear equations, and you guys are so far ahead of the curve. We've already played with this idea, but we're going to reiterate it quickly today. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, this b stands for your y-intercept, which is the point 0b. And remember, the m is your slope. Now the slope is the steepness of the line, so that's your rise over your run. Those are the most important parts to keep in mind with 5.8. So now let's apply these ideas and graph some equations. So if I have y equals a negative 2/3 x plus 1, and again I'm going right through your notes so you can follow along with me. If you were asked to graph this linear equation, first thing you're going to do is you're going to look at your y-intercept. This is the point 0, whatever that number is, so 0, 1. I want to immediately go ahead and graph that y-intercept. So the point 0, remember this is my x-axis, this is my y-axis, and I can remember that because the y can have a tail going up and down. So the point 0, 1 is right there. Go ahead and graph him. From that point, from that y-intercept, now I'm going to look at my slope. Remember, slope means rise over run. So if I look at the slope up here, I have a rise and I have a run. Now, this tells me to rise a negative 2. Well, I can't rise. Going up would be positive, so I actually want to rise a negative 2. So there's 1, there's 2. So I rise a negative 2, rise down 2, and I'm going to run a positive 3. So 1, 2, 3. Put my point where those come together, and voila, I've graphed that linear equation. Keep in mind, back when we talked about slopes, remember a line that it tends this direction has a negative slope, positive slope, no slope, zero slope, or an undefined slope. So this makes sense. This is a negative sloping line. Okay? Before learning this quick shortcut, remember we had to do the XY table. You had to pick X points, and then plug it in, see what the Y's are, and then plot. You will get points somewhere along this line. This will always work. This is just way faster. Okay? So let's play with 1 or 2 more, and then I'm going to try to kick it up a notch for you. Okay, try this one. Y equals 3x minus 2. So again, first thing you want to do is look at that y-intercept, and that's going to be the point 0. Be very careful. This isn't 2. This is a negative 2. This minus is hiding a negative. So that's the point 0, negative 2. I want to go ahead and graph that y-intercept. 0, negative 1, 2, right there. That's my first point. From there, I need to look at my slope, and I need to rise and run. Well, this is just a number. I can't rise and run just a number. I need to make that look like a fraction. So the way you can make any number look like a fraction is you can stick it over 1. Now I've got a rise and a run. So I'm going to rise and I'm going to run. And as silly as it sounds, anytime you look at my work, I still pull out my y-intercept and I still write the word rise and run, because then I don't have to think about it. It tells me what to do next. So from this point, from my y-intercept, I'm going to rise 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to run 1 in the positive direction. So rise 1, 2, 3, run 1. My point will be right there. And 2 points gives me enough to graph a line. Good? Okay. Let me throw a wrinkle at you, and then we're going to be wrapping up 7.8. What if I ask you to graph how in the world would you do that? So this f of x, remember, this means the same thing as y equals. So don't let this goof you up, okay? You can read it as y equals 2/5 x plus 4, because this is the function of x. So if I were to do this, same steps. Here's my 0, 4. That's my y-intercept. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. From there, I'm going to rise, and I'm going to run. So from this y-intercept, I'm going to rise 2, and I'm going to run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I still didn't hit my point. Okay, last one. I don't believe this one's in your notes. What if you get something like y equals 1/2 x? Well, we said the first thing you do is find that y-intercept. Well, there's no plus something. Well, if there's no plus something, is it the same as plus nothing? Yeah. So I can add that in just to help my mind keep up with my strategy. So I added plus nothing. Doesn't change the value of this linear equation. So my y-intercept is now the point 0, 0. Point 0, 0 is right there in the origin. From that point, I'm going to rise and run. So I'm going to rise 1, positive, and run 2, positive. And there's my linear equation graphed. Okay? Last thing, one more idea I want to show you. It has nothing to do with graphing. It has more to do with reading the linear equations. You're going to be asked to look at 3x minus y equaling a negative 5 and y minus 3x equaling a negative 2. You're going to be given two linear equations and asked, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, or are they neither? So what they're asking is their slopes. What do the slopes look like? Remember, parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have that negative flip-flop slope. And neither, just two random numbers. So we got to figure out what in the world their slopes are. So in order to solve for slope, you've got to get it in the format of y equals mx plus b. So you're going to have to manipulate these equations to look like that so that you can see how are their slopes related. So real quick, I'll go through and demonstrate this with you. If I want to get my y by itself, I want to get rid of whatever is standing next to it in the equation. So I'm going to subtract a 3x from both sides of the equal sign. So those cancel out. I'm left with a negative y equaling a negative 3x minus 5. Okay? Now this is the same as though there were negative 1, because there's one y there, it just happens to be a negative 1y. So now I need to get y by himself. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 1 is divide by negative 1. Divide each piece on the right hand side of the equation by negative 1. Those guys cancel out. So y equals a negative 3 divided by negative 1 gives me a positive 3x. Negative divided by negative gives me a positive 5. So here is his super important slope. Let's see what this guy's slope is and see how they're related. Okay, so over on this side, here's my y. Ooh, my colors are running together. So I want to do the opposite of minus 3x. I'm going to add a 3x to move it to the other side of the equation. So now I have y equals 3x minus 2. Boy, this one's going to be easy for us because, bam, there's his slope. Remember that y equals mx plus b. Once I get it in that format, I can see his slope. So now we got to think about, how are my two slopes related? 3 and a 3, they're the same. So that means my lines are parallel because they have the same slope. If they'd had a slope, let's just make this up. If this guy's slope had ended up being a negative 1/2 x, and this guy's slope had ended up being a positive 2x, negative 1/2, 2 is the same as 2 over 1. This one's negative, that one's positive, and they're the flip-flop of each other, then this would be perpendicular. Okay? Again, this is a made-up, a made-up hypothetical scenario. I made this up, okay, to show you what it would have to look like in order to be perpendicular. And if it were neither, it'd just be random. This side might be, I don't know, 5x, and this side might be 7x. They're not related at all. Okay, that's it for 5.8. Good luck.